You can turn off your video if all you are concerned with is having your video shown, but your presence will still be recorded even if you don't have your video on. So by attending this meeting, you're agreeing to participate in this recording. I suppose we should give it maybe another minute or so.
Yeah, give them about a minute or so.
So just give me the word and I'll start.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, why don't you guys start?
Good morning, Lama.
Good morning. Thanks for being here.
So shall we get started? Okay. Can't hear you, Lama.
Yeah, start, please.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. Teacher, foe destroyer, thus gone, fully and perfectly awakened Buddha, endowed with knowledge and good conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the world, helmsman of ordinary beings to be tamed, supreme one, teacher of all gods and man, Buddha, foe destroyer, glorious victorious one, Shakyamuni, to you I pay homage, make offerings, and go for refuge. Teacher, foe destroyer, thus gone, fully and perfectly awakened Buddha, endowed with knowledge and good conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the world, helmsman of ordinary beings to be tamed, supreme one, teacher of all gods and men, Buddha, foe destroyer, glorious victorious one, Shakyamuni, to you I pay homage, make offerings, and go for refuge. Teacher, foe destroyer, thus gone, fully and perfectly awakened Buddha, endowed with knowledge and good conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the world, helmsman of ordinary beings to be tamed, supreme one, teacher of all gods and men, Buddha, foe destroyer, glorious victorious one, Shakyamuni, to you I pay homage, make offerings, and go for refuge. When you, chief of humans, were born, you took 7 steps on this great earth and you said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise at that time, I prostrate. Completely pure body, supremely fine form, ocean of wisdom like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, supreme protector, to you I prostrate. Completely pure body, supremely fine form, ocean of wisdom like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, supreme protector, to you I prostrate. Endowed with the supreme marks, a face like the stainless moon, a color like gold, to you I pay homage. The three worlds are not like you, who is free from dust. Matchless one, endowed with knowledge, to you I prostrate. Protector endowed with great compassion, omniscient teacher, field of ocean-like merits and good qualities, to the thus gone I prostrate. Through purity, free from attachment, through virtue, releases from the evil gone realms, unique, supreme, ultimate meaning, to the Dharma that brings peace, I prostrate. From freedom, teaching the path, well abiding in the pure trainings, holy field endowed with good qualities, to the Sangha also I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three, ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects, with supreme faith, I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous action. Accumulate virtue and goodness. Subdue your own mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Like a star, a mirage, a lamp, illusions, drops of dew, bubbles, dreams, lightning and clouds, look at all conditioned phenomena as such. Due to this merit, having attained the state of the all-seeing, and thereby subduing the enemy of faults, may I liberate migrators from the ocean of existence, stirred by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the positive potential I create by listening to the Dharma, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the joyful happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from holding some close and others distant. Respectfully, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginning this time, and rejoice in the virtuous actions of all ordinary and noble beings. Please, Buddha, remain as our guide, and turn the wheel of Dharma until samsara ends. Through the merit created by myself and others, may the two bodhicittas ripen, and may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. This offering I make for precious jeweled mandala, together with other pure offerings and wealth, and the virtues we have collected throughout the 3 times with our body, speech, and mind. O my masters, my gidams, and the 3 precious jewels, I offer all to you with unwavering faith. Accepting these out of your boundless compassion, please send forth waves of your blessings. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kanya Yati Yami. So the heart of the perfection of wisdom sutra, Arya Bhagavati prajnaparamita-hridaya-sutra. I prostrate to the Arya triple gem. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling on massive Vulture's Mountain, on Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arjia Rinpoche: how should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arjia Rinpoche said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so on, and up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, and up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate buddhi soha tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate buddhi soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arjia Rinpoche, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that. It is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, Ashuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised. That's spoken by the Bhagavan. And I should say, after concluding the prayers to those who have just joined us, that this meeting is being recorded, and that by attending, you agree to be recorded. If you don't wish to be recorded, you should leave. And if you don't mind being recorded but don't want your picture to be taken, you should turn off your video. And I turn it over to Conor.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dirk. I'm just going to make some adjustments to how I see things. There we go. Perfect. And I have somehow pinned people. There we go. Okay, that's better. All right. So today I am talking about Guru Rinpoche Stories, which is basically going to be story time. I really like story time. But to honor Guru Rinpoche, what I want to do is start with the 7-line prayer of Guru Rinpoche. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sing it 3 times. If you know it, feel free to sing along with me. I'm not going to present it, though. And I don't want anyone to present it. I just want it to sort of flow naturally. If you know it, great. If not, just listen to it. And then I'm going to do Guru Rinpoche mantra, a full mala of that. And then I'll read it in English. And then I'll have a little thing to say about what the stories are and how to sort of approach them. And then I have about 4 or 5 stories to read through. And I'm literally going to read you stories today. And so that's sort of the fun day that we have set forth today. So let's start with singing the prayer. And this is the way that Lama taught me how to sing it. There's a lot of different ways to sing a lot of these prayers. You can chant them, you can sing them to different tunes, but this is the way that Lama first taught me. So I'm going to sing it 3 times and then go right into a full round of mantra. So feel free to go along with me, but please keep yourself muted. Om Organ Yogi Nu Cham Sam Hamage Sadang Pola Yatsen Chogi Nu Drune Hamajune Jesu Drag Koru Kandro Mangpoko Keiki Jesu Dagdruki Chenji Lodru Chekshu So Guru Pama Siddhi Organ Yogi Nu Cham Sam Amage Sadang Pola Yatsen Chogi Nu Drune Amadrune Jesu Drag Koru Kandro Mangpoko Keiki Jesu Dagdruki Chenji Lodru Sheksu So Guru Pama Siddhi Organ Yogi Nu Cham Amage sarang pola yatsen chogi nudrune amadrune jesu jag kordu kandro mang or Keki Jesu Druki Chenji Lo Dru Sheksu So Guru Pama Siddhi Om. Om Aham Benza Guru Pama Siddhi Om. Om Aham Benza Guru Pama Siddhi Om. Om Aham Benza Guru Pama Siddhi Om. Aham Benza Guru Pama Siddhi Om. Aham Benza Guru Pama Siddhi Om. Om Aham Benza Guru Pama Siddhi Om. So the 7-line prayer of Guru Rinpoche is actually a really great place to start with our stories. And the English translation that I have here is Hung. On the northwest border of the land of Odinaya, in the pollen heart of a lotus flower, you attain the marvelous excellent cities. You are renowned as a lotus born, surrounded by the vast retinue of many dakinis. I practice following in your footsteps. Please approach and inspire me with your blessings. So sort of the basic outline of who Guru Rinpoche is, for those who don't know. Guru Rinpoche is sort of the second, considered to be sort of the second Buddha in a lot of ways. He's thought to be the person who brought Buddhism to Tibet. I mean, he's definitely not the first person historically to bring Buddhism to Tibet. He's sort of charged with helping King Chisum Dretsen to protect the great monastery Samye from evil forces who kept destroying Samye while it was being built, so that it could be built up as a great monastery. Some of the stories say how all places in Tibet were touched by him and his footsteps and his great being. But there's books, a stack of books here filled with stories of Guru Rinpoche. But something you have to know before you go into stories about Guru Rinpoche, and really any stories, is sort of, what are you looking for in stories about Buddhist bodhisattvas or Buddhist history, really. What is it that you're looking for? All histories, both Eastern and Western, they're all stories first, right? If you're looking for facts, Western histories all have facts. They all have a set of tolerances, and we're more used to these tolerances or these untruths or these unknowns within Western histories. But they all start with stories, right? Someone told the story to someone else who wrote it down, or to someone else, to someone else, to someone else, and on and on and on, who wrote them down eventually, or maybe never. Maybe these are oral stories that came down through lineages, through families, through bards, through, songs. And we think of them as facts. We think of them as histories, and we think of history as solid. Maybe not. So we all think that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. Well, was he the first person to discover America? I can think of a couple other people. Reed Erickson, possibly the Chinese, maybe. I don't know. So think of first, why are you reading this? Why are you hearing this? What do you hope to get from it? And think what fact might help you understand something. What are you looking to get? And, I have a little bit in this first book. And mostly I'm really just going to be reading things. And if you want citations, you can ask me later. But the citations, quite honestly, that's not really what I'm here to talk to you about. So you can email me later if you want them. Okay. The Buddhist path is not static or rigid. It would be a mistake for those of us from static religious backgrounds to expect Buddhism to be fundamentalist. From the point of Buddhist teaching, it is helpful for the listener to become Buddha. The listener is neither expected nor encouraged to absorb another's truth or to dully or dutifully follow anyone else's enlightenment. Buddhists are expected and encouraged to follow and foster their own understanding, experience, realization, awareness, awakening, and enlightenment. So think of these stories more as ways to knowledge, ways to wisdoms. And if there's truth in the stories, there's always truth in a story. It doesn't matter if it's a hard fact, as you may want to call it a hard fact or not. So with that, let's get to the stories, because those are the fun things. And these are not in any sort of chronological order. You guys can all Wikipedia, a basic outline of Guru Rinpoche, but I'm going to present something that's maybe not in chronological order, which makes it a little bit more fun. So I'm asking you to use your imagination a little bit more than maybe you would, and sit down and enjoy a story, think of like kindergarten time a little bit. So this story, I'll start with this title actually on this one. It's called Dependency of Perception. Of course, it would be impossible for any ordinary person to measure fully the virtuous qualities of even a single pore of the Buddha's body, since it defies the reach of ordinary thought. The inconsistencies and dissimilarities of the life stories of enlightened beings come about because those beings are perceived differently by different levels of people who are to be influenced, and therefore totally inappropriate to make fixed generalizations. In the past, the Buddha, by the name of Indomitable, appeared with body size of 80 cubics. That's really big. And the Tathagata, king of stars, was the size of 1 inch. The Suddhagata, boundless life, lived for 100 billion years, while the Suddhagata, lord of abilities, appeared as living for just 1 day. The Buddhas were definitely unlike ordinary people who have different lifespans and degrees of merit. The Buddhas appear to have ways because of different karmic perceptions of different followers. Superior qualities of our teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, were perceived in various ways, respectively by common people, the followers of Hinayana, the Bodhisattva followers of Mahayana, Divatara, and the heretics perceiving the Buddha only with their impure thoughts. This does not mean that the Buddha himself had different degrees of qualities, but only proves individual perceptions of different people. Master Padma, that is Guru Rinpoche, he had many different names, was a supreme Nirmanakaya. He apparently freed from faults and fully endowed with all eminent qualities. He surely did not remain within reach of people's solid fixations on permanent reality, but appeared accordingly to those to be tamed. Consequently, the clinging of absolute concern whether he took birth from a womb or was born miraculously, that is, was he born from a person or was he born from the lotus flower? Whether his different names and deeds in the Indian countries agreed with one another, whether there are inconsistencies in the duration he remained in Tibet, and so forth, are nothing but causes to exhaust oneself, proving one's ignorance, while attempting to confirm the inconceivable to fit within the confines of conceptual thinking. So again, keep an open mind. All right. So at this part of the story, we're actually in Tibet, and he's being asked to help build Samye. And I'm gonna just go ahead and say, I can't pronounce a lot of these names, so I'm making a couple up, and I'm gonna trip over some, and we're just gonna go with it. So deal with it. Master Bodhisattva said, "The miraculous gods and demons of Tibet must be tamed as wrathful means. In the canyon of Yangilashlo in Nepal, stays the Sita, who became the son of the king of Udayana." I'm talking about who Guru Rinpoche is. He's the incarnation of Padmasambhava, who possesses great spiritual strength and overwhelming power. He lives by practicing the disciplines of the secret mantra. If you can invite him, he will fulfill your aspiration and subjugate your local spirits. Your Majesty, pretend that these directions were revealed to you in a dream. They're talking, basically an attendant is talking to King Trisam Dretsen about trying to invite Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche, to Tibet to help build Samye, or help keep Samye safe while it's being built. Later, King Trisam Dretsen proclaimed to his subjects, inner and outer attendants, "Last night I had a dream about a master from Udayana by the name of Padmasambhava, who lives in a cave of Yangilashlo in the border of India and Nepal. My aspiration will be fulfilled if he is invited to Tibet. You must send someone to invite him. Call a council and discuss the dispatching of 3 emissaries." The subjects pondered and discussed, but could not agree to send emissaries. King Trisam Dretsen himself gave directions to person A of Bay and Lunga of Sangye Go. He furnished them with 3 servants, a dray of gold dust, and sent 5 of them on their way. At the same time, all guardians of Bodhidharma made personal requests to Master Padma. "The Tibetan king will beseech you to build a temple at the base of Mount Hepri in the land of Tibet. He will send 5 emissaries to meet you, but they are tired and weary. Master, please prepare and go and meet them at the border of the sky plain." With his miraculous power, Master Padma journeyed through the sky and remained for 3 months in the plateau of the sky plain in Yangmul. The master met with the emissaries, and although he knew who they were and where they were going, he still questioned them. Manye Selnye of Bay replied, "We've been sent by the king in Tibet to invite Master Padmasambhava. Is that you?" Master Padma said, Well, 3 months ago I received a request from the guardians of Buddha Dharma, and they were afraid that you emissaries were tired out and I've waited here for you. You really have taken a long time. Now, give me what you have to offer." They all did prostrations, and they all offered one dray of gold dust. Master Padma said, "Give me some more." The emissaries stripped off their clothes and offered them, but the master said again, "Still, give me what you have." The emissaries replied, "The king did not supply us with more than this. Also, we do not have any more of ourselves, so now we offer our body, speech, and mind in your service." Then they made prostrations, circumambulated Master Prabhasambhava, and placed his foot at their crown of their heads. The master was pleased by this and said, "I was checking whether or not the faith of the Tibetans was fickle. For me, all appearances are gold." While saying this, he reached out his right arm in the direction of the sky plane in Mangul, the mountains on the left side, and shifted to the right. He stretched out his left arm to the west, and the earth and the rocks all turned to stones, agate, coral, gold, and turquoise, and some of which he gave to the emissaries. Amazing, assuming a gaze, he looked at the sun and the moon, sinked to the ground, and with a threatening gesture, he made the river reverse its flow. "This is the type of miraculous power and ability I possess. You should have trusted in this. I have no need for your gold, but in order to fulfill the king's aspiration and allow him to gain merit, I should keep some." Saying that, Master Padma flung some gold towards Yangon in Nepal. Later, Tibetan gold will be plentiful in the areas of Mangul and the direction of Nepal. At first, the emissaries mistrusted the gold and turquoise given by Master Padma, believing it to be fake. Later, they walked along and examined it privately and found it to be genuine and gained faith in Padmasambhava. So, all right. So, this story is in a little bit different tone, right? Because these stories come from different people in different times and different termas. So they all have a different flavor. And this one is definitely written slightly differently. And do I have time for... I think I have time for these. Okay. Actually, I think I want to do the other one first because I like it better. So this is the consecration of Samye Monastery. And I actually like it a little bit better because it's got a little bit more magic to it. So this is after, after time, there's a whole bunch of problems trying to build Samye, and, Guru Rinpoche was tossed out of the country, and, there's a whole bunch of challenges that happened, and demons to be defeated, and the stories could get a little bit challenging and rough at times. So they're fascinating, and there's a lot of teaching and learning that happens within them. But I like this one because it's pretty magical. So this is the consecration of Samye Monastery. And the title is The Consecration of Samye Monastery, accompanied by mysterious occurrences. Then at the end of the horse year, middle moon of winter, on the day of conquering stars, the guru and abbot threw flowers, and 3 times the bodhisattva performed consecrations of Samye Monastery. On the 15th day of the first winter month of the Ram year, when the moon in its last house was overshadowed by a planet, Guru Padma spent 7 days in the attainment of the diamond plane, conferring unction upon the sovereign king and threw flowers of consecration. When he threw flowers over the threefold roofs, the image of the temples at once went outside and brandished their attributes. The king feared in his heart that the images would not return to their places. Images being pictures and tonkas. But having made circumambulation to the stupas at the pinnacle, the deities returned to their places in the temple. You imagine the images from the Tonkas running out of the temple. When the Guru flew flowers to the fierce guardians of the threshold, they appeared as fire mountains, furiously active, and blue smoke rose up and saw the red volcano and the path of flame. The fire will spread, thought the king, but it dissolved into spiritual atoms. When the Guru threw flowers to the 3 sanctuaries of the ladies, there appeared miraculous fortunate omens, and the temples were filled with light, and all could see a lotus stalk budding. When he threw flowers to the temple of Maitreya, the minor deities came forward between the clouds and made their offerings. When he threw flowers to the temple of Vairocana, 5 colored light rays came together to form a shining network. When he threw flowers to the temple of Manjushri, 3 times flowers rained down. When he threw flowers to the kitchen pavilion, the gods reflected on the Dharma, rich in profundity. When he threw flowers to the temple of the white magicians, the deities plunged into the depths of the heavens. When he threw flowers to the pavilion of evolutions, the deities began to speak, their voices, opinions concerning the doctrine. When he threw flowers to the temple of ecstasy, everyone saw sun and moon rise conjointedly. When he threw flowers to Hayagriva of the temple of the Aryapala, one could hear a 3-fold neighing. Those who failed to hear were called hopelessly deaf, and long reeds grew at once along the ritual circuit. When he threw flowers to the temple of the translators, all forms of music spontaneously played at the same time. When he threw flowers to the temple of the dispensers of mercy, an unbroken lake of lotuses stretched across the sky. When he threw flowers to the iron gates, useful objects were multiplied and perfumes were scattered. When he threw flowers to the temple of Pakar and his terrible magic weapons danced on the terrace at the summit. When he threw flowers to the 4 stupas, parasols, victory banners, silk valances appeared and spontaneously hoisted themselves. When he threw flowers to the 4 temples of the protectors, the clay statues made noises like that of the crowd. When he threw flowers to the 4 stone pillars, the 4 copper dogs jumped in the 4 carnal points and barking 9 times growled from the top of the pillars. When he threw flowers to the triples surrounding walls, 3 times there rained down cool balm. When he threw flowers to the stone stupas, 5 stupas were haloed, each in a distinctive rainbow. So I do have another one, but I want to leave some questions for time for questions or discussion. They're sort of fun stories, and there's a lot of them, and I had to sort of pick and choose what I wanted to talk about and which ones I wanted to bring about, but I didn't really get into the more salacious or juicy stories because there's a lot of them about slaying demons. So are there any comments or questions right now?
Hey, Conor, this is Susan. I wonder if you or others could sort of talk about what the power of myth. I think the reason for myth, the way that it permeates like all societies, You know, I mean, why do we have myths? Why, you know?
Mhm.
You know, what do they do for us?
Yeah, well, I think Joseph Campbell has a really good quote on that, and I can't bring it to the top of my head right now. But you know, myths and stories do a lot for us, right? They both entertain and they teach, and they yeah, man, I don't know. Does anyone have that? No, because it's in my head. So why would you have the good Joseph Campbell? I don't know. Does anyone have a better, more articulate response at the moment?
I don't know about more articulate, but I have another view. I mean, probably part of the reason that you picked this, right? It's sometimes they're like pith instructions almost. You get a view of something in a moment that strikes you. You get a view of something, as you said, maybe magical or surreal, a perspective of difficulty and transmutation, transcendence that is inspiring to you. I mean, to hear stories of Guru Rinpoche taking his time walking across the plains and bringing these demons forth and working with their energies and helping them release themselves from their suffering and their bonds, and just the ferocity and the gentleness at the same time. It gives us an image of something that is really transcendent to me. And I know, like, a lot of us in America grow up with like Grimm's fairy tales and things like that, and we have these things, and they've really changed over time. And you know, Disney's busy capitalizing on all those things and making them into some sort of a fantasy. But I think, like, when it's really connected with our spiritual practice, it gives us a high view.
Would you say it gives us a high view, H-I-G-H?
Yeah, you know, like the view of the top of the mountain.
Panoramic, like that?
You know, like Lama talks about this. You know, when you're climbing up the mountain, you have one view, but when you're at the base looking up at the top, you have this view of what it looks like, and it becomes almost an inspiration. A picture in your mind of what could be.
Hi, this is Cynthia. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Is the discussion about archetypes? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think it can be. I think more generally it could just be about myths in general, or just
I say yes. Well, from the discipline of the history of art, the myth is something that usually is an explanation, or is either visual or written, but it expounds on something that is an indivisible truth. Underneath it, there's some sort of fundamental archetype that actually contains wisdom, and it's an explanation that is in terms of the community understanding.
It's a parable.
In some ways, yes. In some ways, yeah, yes. But that's something that that's kind of a slippery slope. In art, for example, the archetype is essentially the image beyond which there is nothing more to be divided. It's the fundamental, essential knowing. And that's something that myths convey in culture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think maybe we also want to allow space for these not to just be myths, though. These to be history.
Yes. Well, it's all those things are all intertwined, right? Right. That's exactly right.
And I think Marie's comment is actually quite good. Myths and stories create shared experiences within culture and other groups and create ways we can relate to one another.
Yes.
Marie, do you want to say something more about that with relation to what Cynthia just said?
I've just really found that, in my experiences, sitting with elders and hearing traditional stories, in whatever setting I was in, it really was something that I felt was often done to create cohesiveness within a group and to really bring people together in a really artful way that kind of allowed everybody to be there. So I think it's actually a really skillful way to kind of create a shared experience.
Yeah. And many of these stories have actually come to us through terma. So they were not necessarily just written down or shared at the time of Guru Rinpoche, but they were actually discovered by Tertons. So discovered throughout history. They've been found during the time, later dates, even quite recently, by special people who have had the power to find these things that have been hidden. Guru Rinpoche hid many of these things throughout Tibet and throughout, the places that he was in and visited, to be found. So, the shared story continues. So I think that's actually quite interesting.
Hello, Connor. Thanks for the talk. I really enjoy myth. When you mentioned the quote by Joseph Campbell, I Googled some, and I found one that I think is pretty in line with what we're talking about, and it's begin quote, "People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances with our own innermost being and reality, so that we will actually feel the rapture of being alive." End quote.
Yeah, it's one of those things that from like high school myth and Latin class of just studying all those things that
So did you see the chat?
all those things are right there. So
Chat button is.
Loma, do you have just something to say?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Sure. Just a few minutes. The stories were, for me, it's a way of talking about our personal lived experience. So there are different ways of doing this, and this is one way. And of course, this kind of magical way has to be among a small group so that they understand what's going on. So it's kind of secret language at the same time, but it's meant to be a shared personal language of a shared experience. So I like what people are talking about, but I want to emphasize that it doesn't necessarily have to be, I would just say it's shared personal experience. It's a language to share a very intimate experience about what's happening. So it's both inner and outer at the same time.
Hmm.
They're really nice stories. Really appreciate it like that. So we call them magical, but actually even saying, our ordinary experience is quite interesting and magical. So thank you for reading them. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking at the beginning, Conor, you mentioned that Guru Rinpoche is, often called the second Buddha. And of course, Tsongkhapa is also called the second Buddha. So that in itself is sort of a way of making a myth, or of not making a myth, but of creating a hierarchy. What did they call it? What did they call the Greeks? A pantheon, of these incredible beings, and calling somebody a second Buddha, it's like elevates them to this particular pantheon. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, I think there's a lot to this story that I have barely even scratched the surface on. So, I can repeat words that are there, but there's a lot of information that I don't know about. There's a lot of history, a lot of things that I could spend a decade reading. I could spend a decade going to different sources and reading the Sanskrit, reading reading all these different sources and still not know enough about it. So just trying to learn like what the cultural implications of these words and these meanings are could take a very long time. So yeah.
Hello, Arjia Rinpoche is here. Hello, Rinpoche.
Hello, Rinpoche. Thanks for being here. I can't see your face yet, but I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And please start when you're ready.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Lama Jimba. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Now shall we start now?
Yes, please.
Okay. We will continue discuss the Heart Sutra. Now we're in the. I have a different version of the paper, so that's why in my paper, in page number 4. But anyway, I will read this first. Therefore, Shariputra, since the Bodhisattva have no attainment, they abide, rely on the perfection of wisdom, having no defilements in their mind, they have no fear, and passing completely beyond the error, they reach nirvana. Likewise, all the bodhisattva abiding in 3 times are all Buddha. So all Buddha abiding the abiding in the 3 times clearly and completely weaken to unexiled, authentic, and complete weakening in dependence upon the perfection of wisdom. So those 3 chapters, I will simply try to explain it. Last time, they bodhisattvas abiding rely on the perfection of wisdom to observe that's all phenomena, including the 4 noble truths. So those are under their meditation. During the meditation, they can't see the, they see the emptiness, or they see the inherent nature. So in that's inherent nature, all of them as emptiness, not really exist there. However, they exist there as a conventional truth. Because of that, Shariputra says they not, the bodhisattvas not obtained anything. So obtained anything, like if we say you have this position, somebody give somebody as a position, like we honored as you have a position. We say, oh, congratulations, start today, you have that's like a director or a teacher or whatever, something. So then that person feel like something they obtained. So then really nothing you can see, but you have this position. When you have this position, then you say something different. You have this responsibilities, and you taking care of everything. And so after a while, so your turns over, then somebody is taking, then maybe that's you don't have this kind of feeling. So that's the same thing. We always think something's there. We obtain everything. Under that meditation, when you observe, nothing really obtained. So bodhisattva also see that's one. Then having defilement in their minds, they have no fear. So that's one we'll discuss a little bit. So defilement also we call obscurations. Obscurations have 2 kinds of obscurations there. So one is dilutive obscuration to liberation. The other one is obscuration to omniscience. The first one, we're not really liberated from the samsara. For instance, we have thought. That's we can categorize 3 types of thought: happy, or unhappy, or the apathy. It doesn't matter. That's always we have. All sentient beings have. That's all animals have. Living beings, human beings, everyone have that one. That's nothing wrong. That's naturally we have. However, in the samsara, those 3 thoughts going to change. Happy, oh, that's happy. Oh, that person's wonderful. I'm happy with this person. Then easily became attachment. So that person, because of that person is wonderful, I would like to be with him or her. So then slowly I have attachment. Then that person always have to be my friend. Then that person go to somebody else, and then I'm unhappy. maybe I'm jealous. Even that person go to my, somebody I don't like it, even say enemies, they talk to my enemy, then I will really upset. Why you talk to them? You should be with my friend. That. So that's, in this case, that's happy changed to attachment. Unhappy became hatred. That's easy. Sometimes, I don't like it, just to leave them alone. That's okay. But usually in our situation is different. We don't like this thing. We don't like this person. We try to challenge, try to fight, try to get rid of this. Then even worse are started that way. So that's hatred. The apathy, it doesn't matter, that's good or bad, just let them go like that. So, but actually, that's easily to become ignorance. So once you have that ignorance, so that's hatred, and that's attachment based on that ignorance. Ignorance is the opposite of the wisdom. So if you have ignorance, you don't have a wisdom. If you have a wisdom, the ignorance will go away. So one ignorance in different forms. Like sometimes they don't believe, sometimes they don't care. All of them as ignorance, right? So those things. What's wrong with those three things? Because we have those three thoughts, then we always tied in the samsara. We can't liberate it. So we always running around this area. So that's samsara. The first obscuration is, through the liberation. So if you have that thought, then that's have many of them, but simply they list some of them. For instance, the desire or attachment mentioned before. So hatred, then the pride or vanity. Like, only me can do. I'm the person, something like that, Then ignorance, then doubt, and that's incorrect view. So all of them as that's obstacles or defilements for the liberation. Then the obscuration to omniscience, that's a higher level. That's also they divided some of them, but they have a list here. So that's in the like a bodhisattva level. Once the bodhisattva, even arhat, so they have very wisdom in a very high level. However, some of them, for instance, they said 4 causes of ignorance. They said 4 causes of ignorance. They have due to distant location, like that's locations too far away, you can't understand. Like almost like no signal, you can't reach, like a smartphone, something like that, So due to distant of time, so the time is past time and present time and future time, reference of the objects, you can't understand. That's due to the subtle nature, that's very thin thing, you can't understand like that. Then the last one is they said that's something profundity of objects. I don't know. In Tibetan, that the subject taiwa, like very profound, very wide. That's kind of thing you can't understand. So that's in the bodhisattva level, in our not level, in the human level. So that's why very high, very difficult to describe. If you have those kind of obstacles or the defilements, then your mind always with fear. So you don't have those kind of thing, then no fear. So that's why that's having no defilement. That's why in their mind, so they don't have a fear. Then also passing completely beyond the error. So error also have 4 kind of errors. So the errors are usually something impure, we think is pure. Something, our selflessness, but we think have self, like ego. Then sometimes the life or whatever the situation is miserable, we think it's happiness. Sometimes the life is impermanent, we think it's permanent. That's all our human thought. For instance, we're looking for a happiness, right? So the material or whatever, something we're looking for, something to the happiness. When we find them, so supposedly have of happiness, but we never have enough thought. We have more, we want more, then have more suffering coming. So impermanent, we always say life is impermanent. We practice impermanent as well. But in deep somewhere, we think is permanent. We just staying here forever. All of them as wrong thought or misapprehension. So if you have that, then you can't really reach the nirvana. So bodhisattva passing completely, that's beyond those error, they reach nirvana. Now, all Buddhas practice those 3 times, and Buddhas in the past time, in present time, in the future time, they will clearly, completely awaken to the unexhaled, authentic those practice. Then they will have complete awakening, in the dependent on the perfection of wisdom. Now we have to go back to that's form is emptiness. Emptiness is a form. That's part. So we can review a little bit. And now, the Heart Sutra has lots of teachings, kind of hidden. They didn't clearly set. For instance, the Four Noble Truths and 12 links of dependent origination, and that's 6 internal senses, 6 external senses, and so on. So all of them, they didn't mention the topic, but they mentioned those things there. Some of them, even they didn't mention the topic and that's thing, but the meaning is the practice. So that's the one important keywords here is the 5 paths. So 5 paths they never mentioned, but the whole Heart Sutra, their structure or they organized that way. So the 5 paths. So when you practice the 5 paths, then you are the bodhisattva. So then if you're not in 5 paths yet, so you're not bodhisattva yet. So how to distinguish one person to a bodhisattva. So that depends on your mind. You have compassion or not. So talking about the compassion, last time we discussed a little bit. Now we'll discuss again. So the compassion basically is a love, unconditional love, limitless love. So the compassion, how to generate the compassion, two ways to do. The first one is equally change oneself to others. So that means like we always thinking about ourselves first, right? Even we didn't mention that, but we in deep somewhere, when you check, we're always thinking about ourselves. Oh, my, health, or my stomach, or whatever. I have to stay somewhere, or like a shelter or clothes and everything. I'm thinking about me. Then do I think about others? Yes, I do. Sometimes, like a percentage. Maybe 90% I'm thinking about me, but 10% once a while I'm thinking others too. So the bodhisattva is slowly have to change. At the end, 100% think about others, not oneself. So in that case, then you are bodhisattva. So then another way to practice the compassion or generate compassion, they say the sevenfold causes and effect precepts. So that's you have to think about the somebody very important to you. So who is that person? The olden days, the parents are very important, right? So especially in the Asian culture, still like that. The parents very important. Of course, the parents is very important. If we don't have parents, we're not exist here. So that's first of all, that's very important. Afterwards, the parents always taking care of us, right? The mother taking care of you. Oh, when you were very young, then how to give you a good food, or taking care of your, like health and everything. Then when you grow up, then you have to, they have to send you to a best school. Then they give you a, kind of wonderful opportunity to study or play or wherever. Then even grow up, then still thinking this way. But today in the modern life, it's a little bit changed. So that's ancient time, they think a mother is very important. So that's why they made the example. Mother, all sentient being, you have to think about the all sentient being as your mother. Then the 7 steps. So if you think mother is important, then you have to pay back that's benefit. So what you did. Then you do that. Then you have to willingly do something for that. Sometimes we do something for people, we like it. Sometimes if people ask me to do something, I don't like it, because that's in my mind. I like this person or not like this person. If not like this person, then we do something. We think that's a wonderful thing. If we don't like this person, we have to do something. That's like a burden, right? So slowly change this mind. So that's why not necessary to be a mother, but you have to think about somebody important in your life. You think that's person, then you have to compare that person to all sentient being. All sentient being just like this person. That's a person, for instance, one your doctor or your professor or teacher or husband or wife or kids. So very important to you. Then how much you spend time and paying respect to this person. So you have to do for all sentient beings just like for this person. So in that way you can generate compassion. So once you have this compassion, then you are in the practice this path. the 5 paths. The first one is accumulation of path of accumulation. Path of accumulation, actually, path of accumulation is the, that's all in our practice. So practice, we divided 3. In Tibetan called Tu, Sam, Gom. Tu means like hearing. Sam means like thinking. Gom like meditation. So 3. First, you have to listen. You have to listen. You have to study. That's not just lesson, hearing and the studying. All of them in the process of the path of accumulation. You learn something. You have to analyze, you have to digest this subject, and you learn that one, you do research and something, then slowly you will have an understanding. That's called wisdom, which is the wisdom from the hearing. Then that's wisdom develops. After that's developed, then became wisdom of wisdom from the thinking. So that's some like thinking. Oh, when you hear something, then you study, then you feel, then you experience, and finally you kind of have insight, or you understand. Oh, I see. That's just like that. So when you understand that, then you're in the second level. So path of path of preparation, path of preparation or path of application. So let's say preparation. Prepare something. Prepare to do what? Do the next level. Next level is path of seeing. Seeing what? Seeing emptiness. So that is the very important level. So in that level, then the when you see emptiness, so you are in the nirvana. If you don't see the emptiness yet, we're still in the samsara. So that is the kind of city limit. So we have 2 cities, right? One nirvana, one samsara. We're still in the struggling. That's the samsara. When you see the emptiness, when you see the really true nature, like inherent nature, so that's based on the cause and effect. So when you understand that, then you see through all of them, then you really see the thing. So you're in the third level. Then after that you practice. Then you're in the fourth level. That is the path of path of meditation. Path of meditation. Because of that meditation, this words, then you think, oh, maybe in the path of meditation you do more meditation, maybe just to relax and every day do meditation. Not really. So that's meditation means like in English you say that's right. That's really good. I meditate on something. You might say, oh, okay, I'm meditating on it. So that means like you're focusing on something. You're concentrating on this project or subject. So that's meditation. In other words, is familiarization. So you getting used to it. You really knew this thing. So for instance, driving a car. If I'm trying to learn a car, then I have to pay lots of attention. I can't drive, sorry. So that's why, I have to, listen to the instructor. Then I have to taking care of everything. I check those lights and everything. When you drive, like you have that experience for 20 years or 30 years, then you're getting used to it. When you drive, those things are automatically, you don't need to, now you do that. You don't need to do that. So you automatically knew everything. So that's a kind of thing in that's path of meditation. path of meditation, bodhisattva already knew everything. They're familiar with everything. So then they just go ahead and do it. Then the last one is the path of no more to learning, or path of consummation. So the completion, right? So in this path, so bodhisattva, nothing to learn. Now just relax. No, the bodhisattva means you have to go through this path. You're already done. Now you're in that's fully kind of duty you have. So you just start do. That's fine. So when we go back and check, that form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. In this level, because bodhisattva already have that compassion, then you see the 5 aggregates. That's all as a form as an emptiness as other than form is also not other than emptiness. You saw this one, then you really understand, right? So then you practice more, then you will see the emptiness, the quality of that one. So that's in this part, in this way, Shariputra, all things are emptiness. They are without defining characteristics. They are not born. They are not seized. They are not defiled. They are not undefiled. They having no increase. They having no decrease. So that's the last time we had this discussion as well. But when you really understand that's emptiness, that's true nature. So sometimes they do change. They changed, right? Even the flower or something, the wintertime, nothing. The spring, they're coming up, then the flower, after flower and fruits and everything they have. Why they say not increase and decrease? If without that cause and effect, they can't change. Without that condition, you can't change. So that's why the whole thing depends on 2 things. They call dependent arising or existing in the reliances. Okay, relative existence. So that's a compares. So sometimes you say, oh, that's the thing. Let's say sky. Okay, that's the sky is very like infinity, right? So where's that sky? You can't. So that's just a relative existence. Because you have sky in the New York area, so raining or sunshining. You have a sky in the Bay Area, that's different. You have a sky in our place, that's different. So let's compare. Then also dependent arising, because that's a flower I mentioned before. So there's a seed put in soil, then put the water, they have a sun shining and so forth, then slowly change. So that's all. We're not the same. Nothing exists there. They exist everything. However, they depend on that, like cause and effect and the condition, so they change. So when you understand all of them, then you will see the quality of the emptiness. So you're in the path of the path of seeing. Then afterwards, path of meditation. So path of meditation, then you also we call that familiarization. Once you getting used to it, then when you check, that's all 5 aggregates and 6 internal senses and 6 external senses and 6 cycle physical bases and the 12 links of dependent origination and the 4 noble truths, and all of them not exist there. So once you really learn them, so you're already in enlightened. So for talking about it, that's enlightened, and then we mentioned a little bit before, we have that's different process, right? So you have to practice, study, learning, and the hearing, and then you will create the wisdom. That's wisdom from, that's one called the wisdom from hearing. So once you have a wisdom arising from hearing, so once you have that's hearing, that's a wisdom, then you develop more, then the wisdom raise from the thinking, like also a kind of meditation, but you're thinking, analyzing, studying, you learn more. And finally, you have a wisdom generated by the meditation. So the final one actually is the calm abiding. So we have calm abiding and the special insight. That is a very profound wisdom. So calm abiding, like when you meditate, so you get in, that's a shine. So that's a shine, also a calm abiding, right? So the calm abiding, when we meditate, very difficult to concentrate, right? So very difficult to concentrate. So what's the matter? Then we have a 2 way to practice that one, right? Meditation. One is analytical meditation. One is single pointed meditation. Analytical meditation, you have to have some sort of object. You have to think about that one. If you have something you focus on, that's one, then you slowly generate the calm mind, which is the meditation. So you can say the mantras all the time, maybe. You can listen to the prayers, or you can listen to the nice, gentle music, and so forth, right? So even that's a walking meditation, and sitting, and all of them supposedly as analytical meditation. So the idea is to train your mind to calm. Once you have that's kind of progressive, then you can practice the next level, which is the single-pointed meditation. Single-pointed meditation is you try to shut off your 5 senses, because our 5 senses are opening and working. So we get the information from 5 senses all the time. So our mind, unfortunately, is blind. You can't see. Our mind, without the 5 senses, your mind can't see anything. But mind is very, very smart. Then the 5 senses all the time give information to the mind. You can see things. You give that information to the mind right away. You hear, you give that information to your mind right away. So when your mind receive those information, then analyze. When they analyze, then keep your mind busy. Then also I said that that's 3 things going to happen: attachment, anger, or ignorance. Attachment, hatred, and the ignorance. Those 3 things are my rights. Because you get them, and the mind is analyzing. After analyze, the result is that. So that's how to change them. That is another subject, like hatred. You have to practice the compassion and attachment. You have to think about the, impermanent ignorance. Then you have to have wisdom, so on. So those are remedies for the three poisons. Anyway, the mind, because in our samsara, we have those, basically have those kind of contaminated, that's mind. Because of that, then get those information, then they change, mind will change. So single point meditation is try to shut off those five senses temporarily. So let the mind relax. So that is the idea to try to meditate. So what does look like? For instance, when you are in deep sleep, and that's kind of condition. When you sleep, your five senses automatically shut off. So that's why you can't hear. So for instance, last night here have a thunderstorm and everything. I didn't hear because I'm sleeping. So that's just kind of the five senses naturally closed. So during the meditation, we have to close them. How? That's very difficult, right? Eyes can close, but the ears and the smell and the touching and everything is still receiving. So that's the idea is don't take responsibility just to do a registration, they said. When you have a sound, you don't hold on it. Our problem is when you hear some sound, then you always try to respond to them. You have to want to do something. The sound, for instance, you're sitting, then better you should shut off your phone and everything, right? Otherwise, the phone rings. Oh, that's reminding you something. Oh, okay. Oh, the message may be from somebody and somebody, so on. So, then one day have this message, then I may have some kind of appointment or somebody's coming, or then your meditation's gone. You just think about it. You are taking responsibility for the sound. So in this case, you can't completely shut off, but you can create some kind of environmental situation, like no phone and the early air or a quiet place and so forth. So that's all good. Then once you have the sound, let them go. Just sound, sound, sound 3 times. Let them go. Don't hold on it. It's like when you meditate somewhere itching or something, then don't take responsibility. Just don't do anything for that. Just say, okay, itching, 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 like 3 times. Then your mind still strongly concentrate. So that will slowly go away. Then 2 kinds of meditation here, just because I mentioned why I mentioned that one. When you practice those 3 levels of the wisdom, the final one is to generate the wisdom by your meditation. So the result we call shine, which is the come abiding. So once that's come abiding, then you really close to you have to that's the 5 paths, then you're very close to that enlightenment. So once you have that enlightenment, then you will see everything. So here that the 3 times of Buddha all clearly, completely weakened. So that's during that wisdom, rising from the meditation. Then, therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the mantra of the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to unequaled, and the mantra that's thoroughly pure, pacifying all suffering should be known as true, since it is not false. So here, 5 mantras they mentioned. That's 5 mantras refers to, that's 5 paths. So I mentioned before, in the Heart Sutra, some of the topics they never mentioned, but here, this is the one. So until that's mantra, before all things are the detail, the whole thing, they explained and everything. So all of them also are 5 paths. When you learn that's a 5 paths, then you have to go through all the process to learn the details. When you already learned, then when you hear those sound, then mantra, then you'll know. That's a kind of give you a notice. Then you say, oh, that's just the 5 paths. So the first one, mantra of perfection, wisdom, so which is the path of accumulation. So that's a path you have, that's wisdom. You hear, you learn, and everything, you understand everything. That is the first one. The second one is mantra of great knowledge. Then you have a more detailed, and then you learn everything. So that is the path of application, or path of the preparation. The third one is path of the unsurpassed mantra. You can't compare that mantra. That mantra is very high. Why I say that? Because that is higher than the the samsara level. You're already in the nirvana level, so that's why that's very high. Then you have mantra equal to unequal, which is the mantra of meditation, the path of meditation. I mean, so then the last one is the path of no more to learning, or path of consummation, which is bodhisattva, already in that all process. Now you just practice the nirvana. So through pacifying all suffering, you just overcome all suffering, and you are in nirvana. That's because of those are true, there's no faults. The mantra of perfection, of wisdom, is proclaimed. So now Buddha will say that's mantras. Dayata, Gadi Gadi, Paragadi, Parasamgadi, Bodhi Soha. So that's mantra also the 5 paths. So Dayata means like the translation, I don't know how they translate it. Different places have a different version. Maybe just like, oh, look at, something like that way. So the main mantra is started, that's Gadi Gadi. Gadi Gadi, like like go, like that. Go. The first Gadi representing the path of accumulation. Second Gadi is representing the path of preparation. Paragadi is like go beyond. So that's one represent the path of seeing. Parasamgadi, then familiarization, path of the meditation. The bodhisattva, so that's no more to learn. You get in that bodhisattva's position. You stay there and practice and help others and generate your compassion. So that's our 5 paths. Shariputra, a bodhisattva, a great being, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom in that way. So long before, you remember, right? So they asked how to train this one, Shariputra. Now they gave teaching, all the teaching finished, and said, okay, now you should train this way. Thereupon, the blessed one arose from that meditative concentration, and he commanded Holy Avalokiteshvara, the great being. Excellent, he said. Excellent, excellent, noble child. It is just so, noble child. It is just so. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom in the manner that you have revealed. The Tathagatas rejoiced. So Buddha said, oh, good, good. You did a good job. You're wonderful. Okay. So you're a noble child, or wherever you're a practitioner. So you said that's true. That's all like that. Then in this way, you can practice this perfection of wisdom. Then all, you just mentioned all of them. So the all Tathagata means like all Buddhas rejoiced. We agree, rejoice. That is what the blessed one said. So Buddha said that's way. So the lastly, thereupon the Venerable Shariputra, the Holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and that's the entire assembly, along with the world gods, like in Tibetan called Ha. Ha means like heavenly beings there too. Human beings there, and asuras, asura like the demigods, like half and half, not really in the heavenly being, but not a human being inside, somewhere there, between there. So Gandhi-Harpa said some invisible. So Buddhist idea is the all sentient being, they are in the 6 realms. So one of them, as that's generally like 2 categories. Visible, they have a body, visible or invisible. So those are invisible. You can't see the body. They just eating some kind of like smells or something like a flower, like that. So those are one of the beings. All rejoiced and highly praised what's the blessed one he said. So those are the Heart Sutra. So when you review, so Buddha's teaching have 3 kind of Buddha's teachings, 3 types of Buddha's teachings we have. When I say that's Ganjur, I saw this all the time. So sometime the Buddha directly said something. Sometime Buddha said nothing. Just the disciples and the Ramjur and the Sharipu, Mongajipu, and lots of different disciples. They're having a conversation. They have a dialogue. So those are one. Then also sometime long conversation. After long conversation, Buddha just to give a kind of that's rejoice, just like that. Like the approved by Buddha, something like that. Then mostly all of them from his spoken words, his own words. So then Buddha's 3 types of Buddha's teaching. The Buddha's teaching through his inspiration, that's just one. Buddha's teaching through his spoken words. Buddha's teaching through his approved pronouncement. So those are three types of Buddha's teachings. So in Heart Sutra, they said that we have three of them, all three of them. Very beginning, somewhere they said that's right. So when they had that conversation, thereupon, through the Buddha's inspiration, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to Holy Avalokiteshvara, and so on. So that is the teaching for his inspiration. So he didn't say anything, but he is doing meditation because of his energy or that's inspiration. Then they will have a conversation. When I read that's the Ganjur, the Buddha's teaching, also have this feeling. Some of them already they taught before, so that's why the disciples are they kind of repeating them or making sure, is this right? Something like that. Something like that's the kind of a question form, or just repeating. Then finally, Buddha will say, "Oh yes, yes, excellent, excellent," like that's right. Did you know? Not really excellent, but they said yes, yes, just like this, just like that. They said that. That's here. Then also the lots of conversations from the Shariputra and the Avalokiteshvara. That's all Buddha's teachings through his approved pronouncement. So then the final one here, they said excellent, he said, excellent, excellent, noble child, it is just so, noble child, it is just so. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom in the manner that you have revealed. The Tathagatas rejoiced. That is the his own words. So teachings through his spoken words. So those three kind of Buddha's teaching. Even that Heart Sutra is very short, but they have that's one. So now the Heart Sutra mentioned the 5 paths. That's very important. We should know. Then, excuse me. So Heart Sutra also mentioned that's Bodhisattva. So Bodhisattva based on the compassion. So, but in this Heart Sutra, they didn't mention compassion, but you have to go through the compassion. Then you have to generate the compassion first based on that compassion. When you practice, then they had that's 3 levels I mentioned before, like to some gonsum, hearing, wisdom, risen from hearing or studying. Then the second level, wisdom rising from the thinking. Then the third one is wisdom generated by the meditation. So during the meditation, then you will know everything. So those are little teaching for today.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I think Lama's having a little computer issue right now.
Okay.
Here we are. Thank you so much, Rinpoche. Very good. Thank you. I have a request to make. I'm wondering if we can make a transcription of these teachings and send it to you and for your approval, and then we can study further again.
Oh, that's fine. No problem. That's no problem. Then, I'm like, telling the truth. So the last time, who is your assistant? I've forgotten his name.
Connor, yeah.
Yeah, Connor. Connor asked, can we put in YouTube or not? So that definitely can put, nothing special. But I'm just worried my language and everything's not really good enough. So maybe I don't know.
It's really good, Rinpoche, actually. It's very fine. It's easy to understand, and your pronunciation is very good. So
If that's
thanks so
something
much.
helpful, then please you decide and you can put it. So yeah, you can send me that one, then I can if finalized, then you can put it.
And we'll make a booklet from it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Move it now. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. There.
Right.
There. Thank you.
So, Dirk, do you want to do closing prayers?
Okay. I'll give it a second to make sure everybody can see it. A little more than a second. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of the Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has not arisen, not diminish, but increase more and more. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. May the teachings of the Buddha flourish, and may the upholders of the teachings remain forever. May all migrators achieve happiness, and may they fulfill all their temporary and ultimate goals. Losang, magical display of the deep awareness of all the victorious ones, merciful giver of a stream of profound and vast instructions for the fortunate migrators, please remain always unperishing, unchanging, unfading. Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of objectless compassion, Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, Vajrapani, destroyer of the entire host of Maras, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the snowy land sages, Losang Drakpa, I make request at your holy feet. I have to ask your indulgence for a moment. I have to answer a chat.
Okay. Yeah, so while we're doing that, let me just make a quick announcement. Lama had asked that we do tomorrow Barcham Lamsal, if we get as many people as possible to do that as part of birthday celebrations. Lama's birthday is Tuesday, so please come. And main celebrations will be on the 12th. But if we could do that tomorrow, accumulate more mantras. I don't know what the total count is. Is Deb Dietz on? I didn't see her. I don't think so.
She sent me an email a little while ago. She said the total count was, earlier today, that the total count was 634,770.
Wow, and I know there's some mantra hoarders among the group. So, yeah. So let's get together tomorrow night at 7, do more mantras, and get those turned in. But yeah, so that's my only announcement, I think, right now. Let's do some prayer that Zay Sakya.
Okay. May all the diseases that disturb the minds of sentient beings and which result from karma and temporary conditions, such as the harms of spirits, illness, and the elements, never occur throughout the realms of this world. May whatever sufferings arise due to life-threatening diseases, which, like a butcher beating an animal to the slaughter, separate the body from the mind in a mere instant, never occur throughout the realms of this world. May all embodied beings remain unharmed by acute, chronic, and infectious diseases, the mere names of which can inspire the same terror as would be felt in the jaws of Yama, Lord of Death. May the 80,000 classes of harmful obstructors, the 360 evil spirits that harm without warning, the 424 types of disease and so forth, never cause harm to any embodied being. May whatever sufferings arise due to the disturbances in the four elements, depriving the body and mind of every pleasure, be totally pacified, and may the body and mind have radiance and power, and be endowed with long life, good health, and well-being. By the compassion of the Gurus and the three jewels, the power of the Dakinis, Dharma protectors and guardians, and by the strength of the infallibility of karma and its results, may these many dedications and prayers be fulfilled as soon as they are made. Thank you. Sorry, I have a tech support request that I put in over 2 hours ago that of course came online with chats right while I was had to do the closing there. So I'm going to sign off. Bye-bye.
Bye, Dirk. Thanks for coming all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Con.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Bye. You're welcome.
Thank you, Connor.
See you, Mom.
Bye. That was very interesting. Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming.
I liked your stories.
Thanks.
That was great, Connor.
Yeah. Thanks for helping out.